Narcissists are masters of manipulation, architects of psychological warfare, playing mind games that leave their victims emotionally battered and broken. In this eye-opening video, we expose the dark tactics of narcissists, unveiling 5 sneaky mind games they employ to control and dominate. Brace yourself as we dive into the twisted world of gaslighting, love bombing, silent treatment, projection, and triangulation. Number 1. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological weapon wielded by narcissists, designed to dismantle the very fabric of someone's reality. It is a sinister form of emotional abuse that leaves victims questioning their sanity, memories, and perceptions. By distorting the truth, denying their actions, and shifting blame, narcissists exploit vulnerabilities and gain control over their targets. Gaslighting begins subtly, with small distortions and dismissals that gradually chip away at a person's self-confidence. The narcissist sows seeds of doubt, repeatedly challenging their victim's version of events until they start questioning their own sanity. The once vibrant spirit becomes a shadow of its former self, second-guessing every thought and feeling. With each twisted tale, the victim loses a piece of their self-trust, forced to rely on the gaslighter's version of reality. The gaslighter's charisma and manipulation often lead others to doubt the victim's credibility, further isolating them and strengthening the gaslighter's hold. The victim may experience anxiety, depression, and a pervasive sense of worthlessness. They lose their voice, their autonomy, and their sense of self, trapped in a web of manipulation. Healing involves reclaiming personal truth, rebuilding shattered confidence, and rediscovering the power of one's own voice. Number 2. Love bombing. In the world of narcissists, love becomes a weapon. Love bombing, a tactic employed by these manipulative individuals, casts a spell of false affection and adoration. It's a dangerous dance where victims are lured into a web of enchantment, only to be left broken and disillusioned. Love bombing begins with a whirlwind of grand gestures and overwhelming attention. The narcissist showers their target with lavish compliments, extravagant gifts, and an intensity of affection that feels too good to be true. They sweep into the victim's life like a tornado, engulfing them in a storm of euphoria, their every desire seemingly fulfilled. The victim's heart races with joy as the narcissist's charm and charisma weave a mesmerizing spell. But little do they know that behind this dazzling facade lies a calculated ploy for control. The victim becomes addicted to the intoxicating rush of attention and affection, unable to see the underlying motives. They feel wanted, cherished, and special, their vulnerabilities skillfully exploited by the narcissist. As the love bombing continues, the narcissist's true colors emerge. The once attentive lover begins to withdraw affection, leaving the victim bewildered and desperate for the return of the euphoria they once experienced. But now, their happiness is held hostage by the whims of the narcissist, who revels in their vulnerability. Love bombing leaves deep emotional scars. When the facade crumbles, the victim is left shattered and confused. They blame themselves for the loss of the intense love they believed was genuine. The aftermath is a haunting sense of emptiness, as they struggle to rebuild their shattered self-esteem and trust in others. By recognizing the signs of love bombing and understanding the manipulative tactics, individuals can reclaim their power and protect their hearts from those who seek to exploit their vulnerabilities. Number 3. Silent treatment. In the arsenal of narcissists, silence becomes a weapon of emotional destruction. The silent treatment, a cruel and calculated tactic, aims to control and punish their victims. The silent treatment begins with a sudden withdrawal of communication. The narcissist, without warning, becomes a cold and distant presence. They use silence as a means to exert control, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and anxiety. The victim is left to question their worth and desperately seek the return of the warmth and connection they once shared. But their pleas fall on deaf ears, further eroding their sense of self and leaving them in a state of constant turmoil. The victim's fear of abandonment and isolation drives them to do whatever it takes to break the silence. The silent treatment inflicts deep wounds on the victim's self-worth and emotional well-being. They feel invisible, insignificant, and unworthy of love. Reclaiming one's voice and asserting boundaries becomes essential in breaking free from the narcissist's control. Stand tall, find your strength, and break free from the chains of manipulation. Number 4. Projection. In the intricate world of narcissists, projection becomes a twisted game of deceit. It's a manipulative tactic where the narcissist deflects their own flaws and insecurities onto others, leaving innocent victims burdened with false accusations and guilt. Today, we delve into the dark realm of projection and the emotional havoc it wreaks upon its unsuspecting targets. Projection begins with the narcissist's refusal to confront their own shortcomings. Instead, they project their own negative traits, fears, and insecurities onto those around them. The narcissist weaves a web of lies and distortions, creating a narrative where the innocent are painted as villains. The power of projection lies in its ability to manipulate perception. The narcissist, in their twisted game, gains a sense of control and power by instilling self-doubt and guilt in their victims. The victim becomes entangled in a cycle of defending themselves against false accusations, constantly on edge and walking on eggshells. Breaking free from the grip of projection requires clarity and self-awareness. Victims must trust their own judgment, seek support from trusted friends or professionals, and reclaim their self-worth that has been tarnished by the narcissist's projections. Number 5. Triangulation. In the realm of narcissists, triangulation becomes a toxic game of emotional manipulation. It's a tactic used to create tension and competition among individuals, leaving victims feeling insecure, jealous, and desperate for the narcissist's attention. Triangulation begins when the narcissist strategically involves a third party, such as an ex-partner or a close friend, to manipulate their primary target. The narcissist uses this ploy to ignite jealousy and insecurity within the victim, making them feel threatened and inferior in comparison to the third party. The narcissist skillfully exploits the victim's fear of abandonment and loss by showering attention and affection on the third party. They paint an idealized image of the third party's qualities, further diminishing the victim's self-worth and creating a sense of competition for the narcissist's validation and affection. Victims of triangulation experience a rollercoaster of emotions. They oscillate between intense jealousy, fearing the loss of the narcissist's love, and self-doubt, questioning their own worthiness compared to the perceived superiority of the third party. They may become entangled in a web of comparison, feeling inadequate and unworthy in the shadow of the third party. The narcissist uses this dynamic to maintain control over their victim's emotions and actions. Triangulation is a destructive game played by narcissists, leaving victims ensnared in a web of jealousy, insecurity, and emotional manipulation. Rise above the competition, embrace your uniqueness, and refuse to participate in the toxic games of others. If you're suffering from a narcissistic abuse, check the link in the description for immediate help.